This video deals with going through and understanding the different aspects of what we can do to help prevent violations of academic dishonesty when we're talking about AI. We have a policy at the university that deals when a student is allowed to use AI. This video addresses what we can do to help them along so that they don't violate that policy, as well as what to do if they do violate that policy. Unfortunately, that does occur. So the very first thing we want to do is prevention. And then if that doesn't work, then we have to address the issue. The very first thing that we want to do is as much as possible for prevention. So one of the first things here is ensuring that students are informed about the institution's policy on academic integrity, to include use of AI. AI has a very specific policy. It resides within the student code of ethics. And in there, it tells them specifically that they cannot use AI for an assignment or assessment unless the instructor specifically allows them to use that AI tool. Faculty need to be sure that students know this. So it's recommended that they go over the policy on the very first day, just to ensure that they know that it exists and what that policy is. Additionally, faculty need to express their specific policy on the use of AI. It should be clearly stated within the syllabus, meaning that the faculty will state to the student, yes, we're going to be using AI within this classroom, or no, we're not going to be using AI, or something in between. We're going to be using it for a couple of different things. I'll let you know specifically when. Some sort of statement within the syllabus goes a long way to helping the student understand your specific policy on the use of AI. Another good preventative measure is to inform the students by explicitly explaining why they are or aren't allowed to use AI for the assignment. So whenever an assignment is given, specific information is given dealing with AI, meaning when and how they're allowed to use AI, or specifically that they're not allowed to use AI. This goes a long way to help with prevention of academic dishonesty. Additionally, ensuring incorporation of multiple formative and summative assignments so that students can better learn and get feedback. The idea here is that by giving them multiple assignments, then they can get more opportunities for feedback so that they can see how they're doing. They can learn by incremental steps. Avoiding excessive stress by only having one or two major tests worth most of the class points. It's highly recommended to not just have one exam in the midterm and then one exam for the final. That shouldn't be done, because much research has been done that shows that greatly increases the chances of cheating because it's such high stakes. So if we can do more formative assessments so that students see where they're at, they can learn the information better. And by lowering the stakes for some of these big tests, it will definitely help to avoid cheating that could occur. Additionally, providing scaffolding and assistance for students that are struggling or need more assistance. AI could be used to help in the creation of scaffolding and to help the students who are trying to learn the information. AI is a very powerful tool in that it can create practice tests. It can create additional explanations of assignments of the topic. So AI should be used by the instructor in order to create this scaffolding and to help the student. So the more that we have that available, then the more that the student will be able to understand and less likely to cheat. And then finally, reminding the students and giving them specific written instructions, guidance on the use of AI for each assignment. Students have lots of different classes. Different instructors might have different regulations. They might have different policies, different ideas on how AI is to be used within the class. So by us being specific and by us reminding the student for every assignment, it will help them very much to avoid maybe an accidental academic dishonesty incident. Having said all of that, sometimes students still violate the policy, and so now we have to address a specific violation. The very first thing we have to think about is that we need to ensure that we understand why we think that there's been a violation. So we need to gather evidence, or at the very least, we need to gather indicators. So we should identify different reasons why we believe that the student committed academic dishonesty. The more pieces of evidence or the more indicators we have, the better to help ensure that it actually is an academic dishonesty violation. One key indicator is that the turned in work is completely different than any previous writing that they have done. So in the class, if you've done some preliminary writing, some in-class writing, you have that, you keep that, and now you compare that to an assignment that they've turned in, and it looks completely different, that's a good indicator. Along the same routes, their final work does not match the tone, style, ability of the rough draft. It's highly recommended to have rough drafts so that you can provide additional feedback, but also so that you can see how they're doing and you can see another example of the writing. So if the rough draft is completely different than their final, that's another indicator, because it might be that someone else or another thing such as AI actually wrote the final. Third indicator would be that turned in work seems similar to the AI result you obtained in testing the writing prompt. An example would be that if you're giving your class an assignment to write an essay dealing with democracy in Armenia, you could take that prompt, feed it into an AI like ChatGPT, write an essay about democracy in Armenia, and now you have the results of the AI. So if you compare the results of the AI to what the student turned in, and you see a lot of similarities in the format, the style, the word choice, the way that things are put together, if you compare those two and they seem very similar, well, that's yet another indicator. And then finally, we have AI text detector expressed a very high confidence level that AI was used. So right now we have a tool such as Turnitin. That's one of the better tools that has the capability to have AI text detection. This is just an indicator. It is weak evidence. An AI text detector isn't reliable. It just can give some indication. And research has shown that using AI text detectors on text that's been written by students that have English as a second language or an additional language has been shown to have a high rate of false positives. That's something that we need to take into consideration as well. So the use of an AI text detector, that is not strong evidence in any stretch of the imagination. It's just one indicator. We need to have multiple indicators in order to really go forward to address a violation that we suspect. The next step here would be to have a meeting, to ask the student to discuss why we think that there might have been a violation of our academic policy. So in this private conversation, and it needs to be a two-way conversation, this is where you as a faculty member would express your concerns, your issues, and then ask them directly as well, did you use an advanced AI like ChatGPT, a generative AI, in order to complete your work? If they say yes, they did, if they confess, then you simply follow the policy dealing with cheating and the ramifications that go along with that. If not, ask the student for further clarification on the reasons you have for why you think that they committed academic dishonesty. Additionally, ask the student specifics about their writing. The less that a student knows about their own paper, the assignment itself, then the greater the probability that they actually committed some sort of academic misconduct. If you still strongly believe that they committed a violation and they don't agree to it, they don't confess, but you still believe that they did this, then it would need to be escalated and move up to grievances committee. That's the overall process, the overall different steps to go through. Remember that the best thing that we can do is to maximize the prevention of academic dishonesty in order to avoid having to deal with these types of situations. So the more that we can be clear to students, the more that we can be upfront and help them along the way to see when they can use AI, when they're not allowed to use AI, by having a policy, by making sure that we have our own policy within our syllabus, and by explaining this within our class and reminding them periodically for each assignment. This will help to prevent these issues from occurring in the first place.